out l'optional. As we hop on in, I'm going to share my desktop. I'm recording right now at this very moment, by the way. No pressure. As always, feel free to fire any questions right here in the chat. Any questions? Yeah, I'm just firing that up. Cool. And then I'm going to get rid of this, and this can turn into one of these, and you can go away. And this is what I kind of thought about for a domain of an app that I'd like to build. I want to make an app called Shirtsy. I want to make a sharp site for shirtsmiths to sell shirts. I've come up with a model domain already that I'd like to work in. I want to have users that will have a name and a quote and like an avatar. I might just worry about their name for now because I'm not really sure how far I want to go in terms of like quote avatar stuff. Sorry, was there a question just there, or was that just somebody logging on? Cool. No worries. Let's see here. So do we have shirts? Yeah, shirts have messages and colors. I want them to have like images. There should be a price here. This is me trying to say like the price should be like dollars and cents. Like there should be a certain kind of precision of like 2 digits, a certain scope. Creator ID, integer. I want to have the shirt point back to the user that created that shirt. And then finally, because this is like a commerce site, I want there to be sales. So I want there to be like a user who can buy a shirt from another user. There should be the shirt that's getting sold, and there should be a quantity, a number being sold. And then I also want to make sure that I keep track of who the buyer is for a given sale. The relationships I'm thinking about in this domain is that a user has a lot of shirts, and a shirt belongs to somebody who made it, that a sale belongs to somebody who bought this shirt, and then the shirt that's being bought. A user then should be able to see all of the sales where they're the buyer, and as a buyer, I should be able to go through my sales to see all of the shirts that I purchased. A shirt should also have many buyers also going through like some sales, and that means that there's a many-to-many between like a user who's buying and a shirt that gets bought, with sale being the join. This also means that a user can be the creator of a shirt or a buyer of a shirt. This is one of my favorite domains. Like I code an app in this like a couple of times a year because it really helps me focus on putting all the things together in terms of like validations, associations. Sometimes I have to like do things that are outside of the default when I set up associations. It's a very associations kind of shaped problem space, but we don't have to get too deep into that at first. As a user, I want to create a shirt to sell, and I want to view a list of shirts that I've created. That's actually pretty simple. Based on what we've seen, all we need to know to create a shirt is a message, color, some sort of like image URL, and then like they can fill in a price, and we really just need to select who's going to be the creator of a given shirt. But if a shirt belongs to somebody else, I think that we're going to be able to just do the same kind of thing with a drop down to select the thing that it belongs to from like a list of all of the existing users for now. Maybe next week when we get into actual user accounts, I might even refactor this so you could log in and use the app with like cookies and stuff like that. But my main goals as I approach these user stories, and I have a whole bunch, but I'm just going to focus on like maybe the first like 3 or 4 in the scope of time that I have right now. But my main goals are I want to use generators to make like my migrations and models because I want to practice like how that syntax works and if I can be like really Railsy with it. I also want to be really Railsy in my views and just do as much things the Rails way as I possibly can. I want to think about reasonable validations for a shirt when the time comes. I don't want to overthink it now, but maybe when we get to that point, we could have a discussion about how do we want to like control what shirts get created, and make sure that there's some decent error handling because that's kind of the theme of our day. And throughout all of this, I don't want to get too bogged down in just migration planning. I don't want to get too bogged down in just making associations. I don't want to get too bogged down in like fleshing out all my controllers and writing all these great controller methods and then like, oh wait, I only had time to make one view, so now I've got like 9 controllers and routes, but I only have one view to show for it. No, I'm going to build each controller and route and view and model code as needed to handle like each feature concern that I have. Let me get out of this. Cool. Oh, shoot. To my file browser. And then finally, I want to see if I can get as far as like this purchasing shirt step. Can I fill out a form to purchase a specific shirt? I'm not sure I'll get that far, but it's just something that like keeps me focused and moving forward. So as a user, I want to create a shirt. What needs to exist for a shirt to be created? I don't even need to have a sale yet, right? For this user story, I know that I will have users in shirts. A shirt will have to belong to a user that created it. So the reason that I kind of wrote stuff out like this is it's going to help me to use model generators. I know that when I generate a model, it's going to make a migration for me. And so if I say like Rails G user here, let me get into my folder. Oh, this isn't even the window that I want. This is the one I want. Not this one. This one. Great. I'm going to make 2 of these windows. I'm going to say here Rails G model user. And then after I generate a model, for the sake of the migration, I can fill in the attributes that I want. Name, quote, avatar. Name, quote, avatar. But I don't even think I need the commas in the terminal, because like they're going to use the spaces to tell it when bash like reads spaces as new argument comes in, new argument comes in. So I think that's going to take it and basically attempt to make a user where each of these things has the type string when it shows up in the migration. Let's see if that's the case. If I go over here to my DB folder, it's still working. There it goes. Now we have a migrate folder. We have create table users, and check that out. They're all strings, name, quote, avatar. I'm assuming that avatar is probably going to be like a URL to some sort of image, maybe if a user has a profile pic. Once again, I'm really mostly concerned about name for now. If this gets bigger later on, this will really help me flesh out the personality of the site. But for now, this looks pretty good. We've got a user migration. Looks like it's set up okay. We got timestamps in here. Do we have a user model that inherits from the right stuff? Sure do. Okay, cool. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to say G model shirt. Shirt's a little bit trickier because of that price thing. I had to go and look on Google to figure out how to set up a generator command for price for like a decimal with certain precision. They tell you that you have to pass it in as a string. So what I'm going to do here is say message color in image and then paste in this string and then creator ID. And I have to say colon integer here because if I don't, it's going to think that this is a string, right? Here, colon decimal is setting a data type to be a specific type of number, and I want to set it to be an integer here. Otherwise, string is the default. So I'm going to say gmodel shirt with a message, a color, an image, this price thing, and then the creator ID integer. Don't quote me on this, but I believe that 5 in price means that like it's scoped enough to understand 5 decimals of precision, but when it actually saves a value, it's only going to save up to 2 decimals of precision. So like as it calculates, it knows more, but when it finally finds its right value, it truncates it down to 2. I think that's how it works. Once again, I could be completely wrong on that. Math is not my strongest suit. Call it my left bower. Right bower? I don't know. Euchre's not a strong suit for me either. I won't even make that reference. Cool. Create. Yeah. Precision 5, scale 2. Yeah. I think that's about what I was saying with the 5 and 2. I think that's what precision and scale mean. Once again, I have to brush up on my big numbers and small numbers math. But check it out. We did create an integer field where necessary. We created a decimal field where necessary. Strings were still the defaults. Migrations seem to be on point. I think that I should figure out how a shirt connects with a user. I have creator ID from the perspective of shirt, so I'm going to need to, in order to figure out this first user story, creating a shirt to sell, I kind of want to I want to think about the association at some point. I'm realizing now that maybe I don't even need to worry about it though until I get here. So yeah, maybe I'm going to push on associations. Seems kind of wild, a little reckless, but yeah, I don't think I need them to actually create a shirt. So how vertically can I slice? I've got migrations. The shirt knows everything that needs to be created. If I had some users saved in the database, then I'd be able to associate them with a shirt when it comes time to set a creator ID. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this. Let's try putting some users and some shirts into our seeds and then migrating and seeding. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to create some names and make some users with those names. Names equals Smitty, Lucy, Gordy, Doc. Cool. And then names dot each do name. And I'm going to make a new user for each of these. User dot create. And where the name equals whatever name I have in my loop right now. And I'm also going to make some shirts. I'm going to say shirt dot create color is blue, message is YOLO. I think that it had something else on it, but I don't remember what it had. Color, message, oh yeah, and then an image, and then a price, and a creator ID. Okay, so what we can do here is say image sample.jpg. I don't really care what it is right now. Price, I'm gonna say like 50. No, that's not. That's too much. I can't sell a shirt for that much. Let's say it's $15. And then I'm gonna say creator ID. Here's a fun trick. I could say creator ID is 1 because I know that the first user that gets created is going to have the ID of 1. I don't know how many times I'm going to run this seed file with a database being the same file, so I know that sometime I might have no creator of 1 in this database because of how auto-incrementing and deleting and stuff works. So instead, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say user.IDs, which is a method that the class gives me. It's going to look in the database and tell me all the user IDs that are there. Very nice. Yeah, user IDs, and then we can pass in here .sample, because user IDs is going to give me a list of all the user IDs that there are in a nice array, and then we could pull one of those to set the creator ID for the shirt. That's how I think this is going to work. I'm just going to make one shirt because I feel like the app is going to make a bunch more shirts, and I've got a few users here. So let's do a migrate. Rails db migrate. Beep, beep. Oh no. What did I break? Fatal. Database Shirtsy development does not exist. Oh, of course, I can't migrate to a database that doesn't exist, so I need to create the database. This is a brand new app, y'all. If this actually works pretty well, I'm going to put it up on Heroku too, and it's going to be like a real thing. It'll be fun. We won't actually exchange money, but we'll just have fun thinking about shirts and money. Cool. So Rails DB migrate has run. We've created users. We've created shirts. Let's see if the seeding works. Rails DB seed. Then we should be able to go into the console and check on user.all and see 4 users and see shirt.all and see 1 shirt. But oh no, I messed it up. Undefined local variable or method blue for main object. Oh, I know what I did. I put a bare word into my code. I meant to say string blue because that's the data type. Ruby thought I was calling a method or talking to a variable, and why wouldn't it? I didn't decorate it according to the data type. Let's try this one more time. Except now let me think about this. It failed on blue, which means that it didn't fail here. I'm going to actually comment this out, because what I don't want to do is recreate these 4 users, which must have been created, or else we wouldn't have gotten this far. I just want to create this one shirt. Beep, beep, beep. And that worked. Now, here's another thing that we could do, and you'll see this in a lot of our seed files at the top, is you see somebody doing this, user.destroyAll, and then shirt.destroyAll. Why do they do this? Because, actually I should put shirt first, because shirt depends on users, so we should destroy any shirts before we destroy any users that they depend on. But we put this at the top because then I don't need to worry about what I comment on. I don't need to have like a short-term memory of what happened in the seed file. Now I can just run my seed file over and over again, and knowing that like I'm not going to actually put too many records in a database. So the second time I ran it, I created a second 4 users and a second shirt. And now I'm going to create a third 4 users and a third shirt. So I'm predicting that the first user ID in the database is going to be 9, and that the first shirt ID in the database is going to be, what, 3? Let's try it out. Rails C. Let's call shirt.all. Check it out. The first shirt ID is 3, and the creator ID is 9. So if we say user.all, yep, starts at 9, goes up through 12, because we've been offsetting by 4 for every time we go create users because of auto-incrementing. Once we delete a user with ID 1 with that first destroy all, we never get user with ID 1 back. So when you see a seed file set up like this, it's just somebody saying like, I don't want to keep track of what I did seed or didn't seed. Every time I run this file, it should give me a blank slate and then fill in the exact same amount of data. Therefore, anybody who runs this from their computer will find that their database is in the same state as everybody else who ran it right after doing the seeding. That's the point of a seed file, right? To kind of standardize our data, the same way that a schema file standardizes our expectations about the data and its relationships. Cool. Data seeded, I feel like some stuff's in there. I know now how these things will sit in the database. Let's code some code. Let's get up into the browser. That means that I'm going to need to be somewhere in the browser, and I haven't even thought of my routes yet, right? So I'm going to go back and meditate on this first user story. I want to create a shirt to sell. Okay, what am I doing? The resource I'm handling is a shirt that needs to be created. The action that I'm doing is creating a shirt. Every time I have creation, that means that there's got to be a form that gets filled in and then submitted, and then a second route that handles that form. So I think I could say under here we have technically new followed by create for shirt. So if we know that we're doing new and create for shirt, we could describe that thusly in our config routes. And inside of our routes draw, sure, let's just say resources shirts. Remember that I said I wanted to do vertical slicing, so rather than assuming I'm going to finish this app tomorrow, I'm going to just deal with what I'm working on today. I'm going to say only and talk about the scope of things that I'm thinking about for now. I think that I'm going to need to have new, because that's the thing that I'm building. I think that new is going to need to point to create. And I think that after that, it's going to probably need to point back to, if I look at my README, technically it says I want to view a list of shirts I've created. That feels like it's specific to one user. That seems to imply a user show page to me. So I'm going to also think about that. Resources, users, only, show. And now if I run my Rails routes, if I'm thinking about like my path through the application, where the first thing I'm going to do is look at this form and fill it in, that would be shirts new. Then it would travel to shirts create. Pay no attention to all this action mailbox and active storage stuff, by the way. I have, basically what's happening here is that I have not suppressed active storage and active mailer because there's certain other routes that are built into a Rails app. So I'm just going to focus on these up here. But notice they're on 2 lines now, so it's a little clunkier to read. My prefix is shirts, my verb is post, my pattern is /shirts, and then my controller and action is shirts create. So I have a post shirts action for creating, I have a new shirt action for getting to the form for a new shirt, and then we have the user path, which is going to take singular because we're going to one user at a time to do the show. If that's good, that means I should be able to like generate controllers for my shirts and my users. And I'm doing that because it's going to make the file for me, and it's also going to nest the views subfolder for me, which is kind of nice. And I'm interested in like saving a little bit of time as I build. So now I've got these controllers, and if I'm curious about getting this shirt new thing going, I want to go to that controller first. So controllers, shirts controller, let's just make an action called new. Def new. And if we have an action called new, that's going to connect to a view called new.html.erb. Let's see if we can get that hooked up in the browser, like viewable, once I can find where I put my views folder, which is a struggle for me for some reason. Oh, that's why, because I was in DB. And there we go. Views, shirts. Let's make a new one. New.html.erb. Pop a quick H1 in here. That's all. Just enough to see if I'm there. And let's call on the server. I'm going to have my second tab open here now for like remembering what my routes might be. Even though I have some clunky outputs, I'm still going to soldier on. Just going to scroll up to the top and keep it focused on this stuff right here. Cool. So let's go to localhost 3000. Oh, by the way, what if I go to localhost 3000 and I just want it to take me where I'm starting? Right? Like, what if I wanted that to redirect me to shirts new, right? Or what if I wanted this to be shirts new? Let's write a route for that real quick. We're going to do this. Get / or we have a root action that we can deal with. So I can say this, root shirts new. Let's see what that does for me. Or did I just error out because my syntax was wrong? Started to get, packed it up. Yeah, it just had to kind of rebuild routes on the fly. It took a little bit longer. But now I've decided that my like root path is actually shirts new. That's an option that I get, right? I could have also said something like, you know, get slash to application welcome. And then I can have like a welcome method in my application controller. Maybe my welcome method just redirects where I want it to. Redirect to, and this is going to need to redirect to the new shirt path. Because if I looked at my Rails routes from before, this path, the prefix is new underscore shirt. So I think what we're going to need to do is, let's see, new shirt path will go right here. Redirects to, yeah, let's try it out. We have welcome, that seems to be hooked up. If we hit enter here, yeah, you see how the URL is changed now? Same thing as rendering, but now it's rendering because we did a redirect to the actual path. This is a kind of a cool thing to do to set up. Anyways, we're here. We're ready to make our form. Let's go ahead and make it. We already have users in the database. We know that. I want to make sure that we have access to them in the form so that we have things to select from in our dropdown. I also want to make sure that shirt is set to something. I'm going to make it a blank one because I don't really care what's on the shirt to start. I just care that it's a shirt instance so that Rails knows what to do with it when it is building the form itself. So what I'm going to do now is hop into my new.html and create a form for, because I want to use that object. So form for at shirt do f, and we'll do an end. And within this, we're going to have various fields in our form. First, let me make sure that I didn't mess up my syntax. Don't think I did. I can inspect. I can't see the form right now, but I can see like if I've got it started working okay. It is going to go to post shirts. Post shirts is exactly where I'd like to go, right? I'd like to make a post request to /shirts to hit my create. So I feel like it knows what kind of shirt it's creating here. If I'm in a form for, now I can talk about f dots with some nested Ruby. F dot, and then what's the first thing? We could talk about color. So text fields. So now we're going to set the color for a shirt with a text field like this. We could also have a matching label for this. So copy this here and change text field into label. And we'll also need labels and text fields for the message, right? And we're also going to need a label and a text field for a price, but that's not going to be, if it's price now, right, that means that we're going to have a different kind of fields. I think that this should probably be like a number fields. I'm not sure though, we'll see. I'm not sure what it's going to do with the decimals. Maybe it'll save an integer as the decimal, even if we just give it an integer, which would be fine for our purposes now. We'll do, okay, so we have color, message, price. Let's glance at the schema to make sure that we know what else we've got. Color. Oh, we have the image thing too, sure. And then of course we had our creator. Another image tag here. Cool. And then here at the bottom we'll have an f.submit. Oh wow, look what I've forgotten to do on every single one of these that I copy pasted was I didn't render any of them. Luckily I want to render all of them so that doesn't hurt me too bad. Cool. Let's see what that looks on the page. I probably need some break tags, right? Like at the very least. Or I could like have wrapped each of these up in divs as we saw in the labs. I think that's probably the kinder way to write our code. But just in the interest of time, I'm going to write the minimum code required to separate things and as an effort of minimum viable product and vertical slicing. So I'm going to do a BR tag here. Stuff's there. Let's figure out how to get students into a dropdown. This is like a second review of this, so I'm going to just fly through at this point because I've done this a bunch. It's an f.collection select. We need to talk about the name of the field first, because just like with every other field, we always name it first. This is going to be for creator ID, because that's what lives in the database for a shirt. We're going to iterate over users to do this. On each user, we're going to call on ID in order to send the value. And then we're also going to display the name as the drop-down value. Cool. Check this out. We got Smitty, Lucy, Gordy, and Doc as our displayed things. If I was to go and inspect, and you know I am, I got to make sure that the value is going to go back over the wire correctly. So I drill down into my select. Yeah, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are the values that I want to send back for the right selected users. So now this is the point where I want to think about sensibly like what needs to be on a shirt. I think a shirt needs to have a color and it needs to have a price. I don't think it needs to necessarily have an image or a message, but if it did have a message, I feel like the message should be unique, right? Well, actually, I don't know. If I say a message has to be unique, then I'm going to prohibit multiple shirts being created that have empty string as their message. So yeah, I'm just going to worry about the color and the price and the creator. I think that's a reasonable set of validations for a shirt for now. And if I learn more about how users are messing up this form, I can always add more validations later on, right? This is really a conversation I'm prepared to have with a user. So I'm going to validate presence. Validates, because I'm not using a custom, I'm using a built-in. We use S when it's sent to us from Rails, and we use E when I need to come up with it L by myself. That's a terrible mnemonic device. Don't use that. I know you're laughing. I can't see your faces, but I know everybody's just guffawing about that. Presence of color. And it needs to have a creator, ID, and it needs to have a, what else? Price, right? Wasn't there another way to validate creator ID, though? I think we could. At this point, we could talk about like how belongs to is going to eventually handle the validation on a creator. Actually, we don't have to worry about that yet. If we never say belongs to, we never need to say it. I'm just going to literally say, let's make sure there's a creator ID here, make sure there's a color here, make sure that there's a price here. Those are the three things that I want to be present for a shirt. They should not be able to create a shirt if they're not there. So if I leave this blank and click create shirt just to experiment with like, can I see errors as a user? Now I'm not seeing the kind of errors that I want, right? I want to be in a create action. I want to be rendering this form again from that action. I don't want to be rendering an error about not being able to get to the action in the first place. It says we don't have an action in the shirts controller. I would agree. Let's fix it. So if we're going to create, we're going to take in some sort of params, right? And we're going to need to create a shirt. We're going to need to save it too, but for now I'm just going to make the object. Shirt.new, this is going to need some sort of parameters in it, right? Normally this is where we'd say something like shirt params, because in Rails convention we like to like break this out into its own separate method. That's mostly though just because we don't like to say it right here. Params dot require shirt dot permit the frog shirt permit color message image price and creator ID. I think that's everything that it needs to be a shirt. Creator did. It's a new kind of insect. Creaty did. Color, message, image, price, and creator ID are what I'd want to bring in. But look how long that line is now, right? Like, I feel like this has kind of taken the focus away from what the create route is actually about. It's really more about do we render or redirect, in which condition, and why. I don't want to get too bogged down in the detail of how. So I'm going to say shirt params, and we'll handle the how of setting params down here in the private space. I'm making this a private space, by the way, because I only think that the shirts controller should be concerned with calling this method ever. I don't think that the application controller or the user's controller or any sort of other thing running in Rails is going to have a need to call on this method. So I'm going to keep it from being called on by anybody outside the class. It's a little bit of a security measure. So we're going to require shirt. We're going to permit these things coming through and nothing else. And if you don't give me all of these things, that's fine. Just give me what you got. And as long as it's on this list, it'll come through and create a shirt.new. At this point, we know that maybe a shirt wouldn't save. But just to review on validation, maybe I hop into a bybug at this point just to see what we got. I'm not sure I have bybug included in my gem file, though. I don't remember if they turn it on by default. Okay, they do turn it on by default. Just double check, that'll work. Let's go and submit this again. Let's refresh. Create shirt. I think I'm in a bybug. go to my other tab. I'm here, so we can take a look. Let's look at our shirt params. Cool, cool. We've got these parameters. They are permitted. It's taken a color, it's taken a message, it's taken an image, it's taken a price, it's taken a creator ID. Oh, and look, it set the creator ID to 9. So all of these params should actually go and create like a shirt, right? We got one. It's got all these things set to it. Is the shirt valid? And it's not. And why is it not valid? Color can't be blank. Price can't be blank. Okay, cool. So these are errors that now we could potentially be displaying to the user. I'm going to try a different strategy than the one I tried this morning, just because I think that there's more than one way to display errors. First, we need to set our conditional, right? What happens if we succeed here? If the shirt is able to save, which means that we've called validation on it under the hood as part of the life cycle of the shirt. If the shirt saves, I'd like to just redirect to the shirt, because I know that at shirt is going to be a shorthand for Rails give me the show route for shirt, which will be shirts / whatever the ID of this object is. And I know that shirt will have an ID because it successfully saved according to where I'm at in my if. Otherwise, the shirt did not save. This means that the user didn't tell me what they needed to. I feel like at this point, I want to give them the new form again, give them a chance to do it again. And now that at shirt is the same variable that we had before, I now think that the form for shirt is going to be able to display any existing color, message, image, price, or creator that have already been typed in or selected. That's another advantage of form for, is it fills in form values without you having to be as explicit. But if you've gone through the form tag lab, that will show you how to explicitly set the values in Rails style too. Right now we have the shirt not saving, so if we're going to render new, we're going to need to render users again, because that's required for iterating over in order to create our dropdown. We don't need to recreate at shirt because we created it up on line 9. I don't even think we need to create any sort of like an errors thing in the controller. I think what we could do is call on at shirt.errors right here. Let's say interpolate at shirt dot errors dot each do error. This one as well. Oops. Just from scratch. Don't need to iterate the each. Just need to display an error. Interpolation style. Cool. So this works. Go to shirts new. Oh, I still have that buy bug running, don't I? Maybe not. Oh, I did take the buy bug out. What took so long? Waiting for localhost. Oh, I never exited by bug. We're still in these shonies. All right. Let's go back. Close out. Let's go back to shirts new. Sure is taking a second to render shirts new, huh? Started get shirts new. It probably had to update my code. Let's wait for it to finish rendering. There it is. Okay, cool. Basically, like, since I have Webpacker on my computer, people have asked questions about this. This is a JavaScript thing that's running on my computer that's basically doing some like preloading and pre-caching of my code so it runs faster in the browser, but it takes a little longer depending on what changes and where. Anyway, I'm in my shirts new now. If I go to create shirt, am I going to render errors? Oh, interesting. See how it says color, price, and then it says color, message, image, price. It just said color and price. Why did it just say color and price? Let's see. Shirt.errors.each do error. Just error. I see what I did. Shirt.errors. Let's look at this in the console. I see it in my head, but I want to show you what I'm seeing in my head. So I'll say, oops. Rails, sorry. Got in my muscles. Shirt equals shirt.new. We call shirt.save. Then we call shirt.errors. This is what I had called just errors, right? So if I say shirt.errors.each, do error, p error, end. We're just seeing the key names here. Color, creator ID, and price. We just see the keys of those errors. That's what I was seeing on the page here because I didn't drill deep enough. I needed to say errors.fullMessages actually. Because full messages is how I get the real kind of skinny, I get the real strings of errors that happened. So shirt.errors.fullMessages. That's where we're going to get the nice sensible sentences. And you can see how they're actually built, right? That like each of these strings inside of an array are going to map to the key of that array. And so the start of the sentence will be the key, and then the rest of the sentence gets filled in by the string. Creator ID can't be blank. Price can't be blank. That's kind of fun for the purpose of like styling individual fields based on what the field is for. But for now, I just want to see the actual error messages. So I'm going to refresh this attempt. Throwing me some weird error. Who knows? I'm going to go back to new and start from scratch. Sometimes refreshing in the middle of a post is like really wonky. Also, I'm going to get out of this console session. So I just have my terminal and my server running. Cool. Shirt's new. Create shirt when it's blank. Now we have the full sentences because we changed from errors to errors.fullMessages. Color can't be blank. Price can't be blank. We'll say it's a blue shirt. It costs 10. And let's say that it's created by Gordy. Go ahead and create shirt. Ooh, it's taken too long to be broken, y'all. Let's see what's happening on the back end. Insert into shirts, and then it went through and committed. So it did manage to create shirts, and now we have this no method error, undefined method shirt URL for shirts controller. Did I mean shirts URL? Let's go and see what I actually meant. I don't think I meant to say shirt URL at all. I think I probably meant to say user URL. Yeah, I didn't want to redirect to shirt at all. I want to redirect to the show page of the user who created the shirt, so I'd really like to redirect to shirt.creator. Let's try that. This is where I think that association, the belongs to, is going to be really important now. Oh yeah, in this case, I didn't need to actually say shirt path there. The error was that there was no such thing as a shirt path because I don't have a shirt show page. And so I'm not trying to say go to shirt path. I was saying here go to actual @shirt, which this is a shorthand for saying this. So if I tried to say shirt path, but I don't actually have a route set up in my config for it, and I don't, right? Because the only shirts paths that I have are the shirts new and then post shirts. I don't actually have a path to see any specific shirt. So in this case, in my controller, what I'm really trying to say is don't take me to the path for one shirt. Take me to the path for the person who created the shirt. Shirt.creator. Of course, I think this is going to be a problem because, like, I don't know, I just got a hunch. Say it's a red shirt for $5 created by Smitty. I think it's going to bomb out on me. I don't think the shirt has a creator method on it. We have a validation for the presence of a creator ID on shirt, but I don't think that we actually have any sort of method on shirt called just creator. Yes. Did we mean creator ID? I don't mean creator ID active record. When I say creator, I want active record to take my creator ID and not go to a creators table. I want it to go to the class users, look at the users table, and find the user with that ID. Now I know which user created this shirt. So to say that, I can write belongs to association. Since belongs to by default validates the presence of the thing it belongs to, I can remove creator ID from the validates presence now. I'll say belongs to creator. Active record is assuming that the foreign key is creator ID, so I don't need to say foreign key creator ID. I could, right? This would just be extremely redundant for me to do because it's already assuming based on the name I chose, creator, that the foreign key is creator ID. However, I do want to use class name to set the record straight on what a creator really is because I don't have a creators table and I don't have a creator model. What I have is a class name called user. So what I'm telling active record is when you see my creator ID, connect that with a user's primary key whenever I call .creator and give me that user. That's what this association means. So now I think that if we go back and try to create this shirt again, red one, 5 by Smitty, yeah, we'll give it a shot. Let's actually make another one by Smitty. Smitty's going to make a lot of red shirts at different prices. That's kind of Smitty's thing, I've decided. I know a lot of things about Smitty already, I just met him. Let's see what this is going to do. The action show could not be found for the user's controller. So notice the difference here. We're not saying that we don't have a route that matches. We're not saying that we can't make sense of the syntax, right? We're not saying that the method doesn't exist. We're actually saying that we managed to create the shirt, that we managed to call shirt.creator, recognizing that's a user, and now it's trying to redirect to that one user's show page, because once again, shirt.creator is the same as if I said user path shirt.creator, because creator is an instance of user. So this is me basically saying, take me to the show page for that user that we were talking about making, the show page for the user that we wrote the route for, but we haven't yet made the controller action for it. We're ready. Def show, end our show, and then here we're going to have to find our user. So we'll say at user equals user.find, whatever our params ID is. Why do I know that it's ID and not user ID or like cats or foobar? I know that because when I look at my Rails routes, it literally just says :ID in the route URL. Active Record and Rails are working together really nicely to tell me everything I need to know about the kind of object and the way that we're going to name it conventionally. So we're going to find that user by the ID, and then we'll be able to show some info about the user via our views, users, show. This should be a triumph, so I'm going to say triumph to make sure that we've actually like created a shirt and moved through the whole create action the way that we'd like to. Once I can get into a Chrome browser again, we'll refresh. Let's have Lucy make shirts. Lucy's going to make a black shirt for 20 bucks. Very in fashion. It goes with everything. We got Triumph. Cool. So we're here. We have users 10, and ideally, I think that now what we've done is accomplished the first step of our README. Sorry, I keep thinking I'm in Chrome because I just changed my color scheme, and I'm not used to looking at this color, meaning VS Code yet. But in my README, I want to create a shirt to sell. So we've totally done that now. We have users creating shirts with various prices, and now we want to view a list of shirts that we've created. So now that I'm on this user show page, how do I get a list of my shirts? Well, we already know which user we're showing, so maybe we could start by showing the user's name. User.name. And you know what? Let's wrap this inside of an H1, and then we'll say like shirts. Because this show page is really about a user, but the thing that we care about this user the most is like what shirts have they made. So Lucy's shirts. Oh, here's another thing we could do is we could titleize the user's name, which is going to capitalize each word that is space separated. That's going to make our page look nice and nice. We need to iterate through something. We need to iterate through the shirts that just connect to this one user. Now, one way that I could get all the shirts that belong to this user is I could have like def shirts. And this, maybe I even call it like, yeah, we'll say def shirts, and then this is going to be shirt.where. The creator ID is the same as my own ID, right? That's one way I could write this. I don't need to, though, because this is exactly the same as if I said has many shirts, right? Well, not exactly the same, really. Because why? If I'm a user and I, a user, have many shirts, Active Record's going to assume two things once again. It's going to assume there's a shirts table or shirts class. Those are two true assumptions. It's also going to assume that the foreign key pointing back to me is user ID, because I'm in the user class. So here, I don't actually need to say class name shirt. I could drive a car with my feet. It's unnecessary and distracting. It's extra. I don't need that there, right? It's already there by default. I do need to change the foreign key default, because right now it wants to point right back to user, but a shirt doesn't have a user ID, it has a creator ID. So I need to specify that for Active Record. Foreign key creator ID. Now I think user.shirts should actually work on the show page. Like if I were to call like at user.shirts.each do shirt. I feel like if I just open this and close it, like, even if I don't do anything, if there's a problem with user.shirts, it's going to error out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might say, like, undefined method shirts for user, or it gives me a bad output. So I'm just going to refresh here real quick just to see. Does it break? If it breaks, I've made a bad assumption. Okay, now I haven't made a bad assumption. Let's put some p tags in here for now. And I'd like to maybe see the shirt color first, just to see. So I'm going to do an interpolation, and I'll maybe interpolate like a big long string about the shirt. Oh, what about this? What if I said something like shirt dot list details? Right? There is no method called list details for a shirt. This should totally break now, right? As long as he's made any shirts, it's going to get to that first shirt and say like, oh, I can't call a method called list details on a shirt. That's not going to work for me. So as it rebuilds my app and refreshes my page, let's see what it does. Boop, 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 boop. I'm going to wait for it. Just kind of look at what's happening. Show URL 3. Yep, undefined method list details. It's taken a long time to show up in the browser, so sometimes I go and peek in the back end first. Cool. So we need to have a list details method on a shirt, and I think we can do that right here. Def list details. Because this is the model's responsibility, right? I could have the view figure out all the details of how a shirt gets rendered, but I think that like a shirt speaking for itself as a string is totally in that zone of like, I can do this as a shirt unto myself. So I'm going to say the color, and I could say self.color here. I don't have to though, because there's no local variable called color. It's going to be forced to call a method, and then it's going to have what it needs. So I'm going to say color shirt, a nice color shirt, declaring a certain message, perhaps. And like none of these shirts have messages that we've put in necessarily. I'm just going to drop quotes in here so they can see that. And then I'll also say here costing only or merely. I have to move the chat window that y'all can't see. And I'm going to interpolate the price of the shirt after I move the window and move my cursor back. Costing merely shirt dot what the price is. Let's see how this looks. Let's refresh again. Does the 10th user now have the ability to list details of their shirt? Yeah, check it out. A nice black shirt declaring nothing, costing merely 20. I should probably make this a double quote string. But then I need to escape these characters because I'm already in a double quote string. But I really do want to show the user like a kindness and let them know that like if there's no message there, they should just see like an empty quote string. So they don't think that like information was missing. Cool, so we have a nice black shirt declaring costing merely 20.0. Once again, I could get bogged down in how to display prices, but like there's a quick way to do it. It's called the STRF. Or no, wait. We need to format a price in a view. Number to currency. Oh, well, that's what I want. There's a helper method built in by action view helpers. It formats a number into a currency. I think if I just put number to currency of the price, that's going to work. I'm going to try it. Before I even get to the documentation. Yeah, it does take a number in. That's cool. Let's see if it works. Maybe number to currency isn't accessible to me inside the model though, right? Like maybe that's not even something that I'm allowed to show from out here. We'll see. Maybe I got an error already. I do. Undefined method number to currency for shirt. Oh dear. Well, that's not going to work for me then. What I guess we could do here is maybe we leave it up to the view to display like the price the way that we want it to. For now, I'm gonna pivot back from this just to move on and do some more stuff in my code because I don't want to like get too bogged down in the currency display. But there's other stuff that we can do to display that without using a Rails helper method. I'm just not gonna belabor it for now. I'm gonna refresh, go back to this page, and display it from the method itself. So we are able to list the shirts that the user has created. The next feature on the list is to say, like, can we look at the individual information on one shirt, right? Oh, actually, sorry. I want to view a list of all the shirts I can buy from other users, none of my own. So all the shirts I can buy from other users, none of my own. This is trickier because, like, if it's from none of my own, like, that really means I'd have to be using the site as a user. So maybe I really just need to look at all of the shirts that I can buy first before I worry about from other users, none of my own, as like a later feature. And so to do that, I feel like we're really talking about a shirt index route, right? Listing all the shirts there are. And if we have a shirt index route, that means we can have a shirt controller action for index. Generally, index happens up top. That's why it's an index. We need to get all of our shirts. And then we need to have an index view. Shirts, new file, index.html.erb. And in here, I think that we'd want to like have a list of shirts that maybe like link to individual shirts. So let's say all shirts. And we'll iterate over the shirts that we have. Oops. Dear. At shirts dot each do shirt. For each shirt in our list, what do we want to do? In this case, I want to get a little railsy with it, right? I'd like to use that link to syntax. Maybe I'll do like this inside of an unordered list too, to be like really nice with it. So it like indents things a little bit, gives me a little bit of formatting out of the box, puts things on their own lines. So we're going to have an li that opens and closes. Within the li, we're going to need to put a link. And we could do that by interpolating and using our Rails helper to build it for us. I can say link to. Let's see where we're going to want to go. The shirt. Well, let's do the shirt list details. And then we can have that travel to the shirt show page by just passing in shirt, right? Do we have a shirt show route? No, we should probably have one of those too. Probably going to want to have an action for it, but I don't want to code ahead for myself, right? So I'm going to go back to the shirts index by saying shirts. What do we have on the page now? How many shirts are there? Cool. Oh, you know what I did? See how we have this whole array of objects? This is because I put an equal sign in my each loop. So each always returns the whole array that you gave it, right? So if it returns the whole array that you gave it, and in my index, I render my each, it's going to render the return value of each. I don't want it to render that. I just want it to render the link tos. So I'll refresh. Cool. Nice blue shirt declaring YOLO, costing nearly 15. Blue shirt declaring nothing, costing 10, costing 5, 8, 20. Great. These are two Smitty shirts because they're red, right? I can click on this. I go to shirts 5. I don't think I've built an action for shirts 5. Yeah, unknown action. The route is there, right? It's not saying no route exists. It's going down the route. There's no action on the other side, so we can get a show going. For a show, we need to find the particular shirt that we're looking for. By convention, that is going to be called ID once we set up the resources the way that the Rails expects us to. And so then we could create a show file for shirt. And a shirt show file should definitely tell me more about what it means to be that shirt, right? So what about this? Presenting a shirt by, and then right here in this H1, check this out. This is how slick I want to be with it. I want to link to the shirt's creator right here, right? So I'm going to interpolate using ERB. And let's evaluate, let's say at shirt dot creator dot name, and this should be a link to that, and it should take us to shirt.creator, which is, to be very specific, I'm going to say we're going to the user path to go to one user, because if I look at my Rails routes, and we need to update these because it's been a minute since we've run this. Wait a sec. Here it comes. And there we go. So here's our user route, right? User path would take me to users/ID. So I could totally say user path and then pass in the shirt's creator. Or I could simply just say shirt creator, because the show page, once again, has that pretty aggressive shorthand for it. So we're presenting a shirt by, and then we'll have a link here that like colors the name. Ideally, let's see. Shirts 5. Come on, show me Smitty. Yeah, presenting a shirt by Smitty. This is great. Let's have the little ... so it doesn't look like we're super cocky about the shirts that we're selling. Kind of a branding thing. Now it's like, oh wow, they're kind of reserved and so mysterious. Cool, let's talk about some attributes. Let's have this as a UL maybe. Again, lists are nice. Let's have an LI about the color. Copy a bunch of these so that I don't have to type them out by hand every time. We'll have an LI about color. We'll have an LI about the message. We'll have an LI about the price. We'll have an LI about... See, if there were images, I think this is where we'd put like the shirt image tag on, right? We'd even maybe mock up a shirt. I'd have some CSS of like the outline of a shirt that's colored, like with an overlay of the image over it, and then maybe a message below the image. That's kind of what I'm trying to create in terms of like I want to make a shirt generator selling kind of app. So anyways, we had color, message, price. We've already talked about the creator. What's that fifth thing on a shirt? I can't remember. Schema, seeds. Let's go back to the schema input. Message, color, image, price, creator. Do we have all that? Message, color, price. Yeah, we're going to skip image. This will be enough for now. So color is going to be the shirt's color, right? Bring this in. Shirt.color. Do .titleize on this. So that's going to be nice. Message I don't want to titleize because like maybe that's part of the aesthetic of the shirt. I'm still going to like borrow a little piece of this. Message will be shirt.message. Now I bet you here is where we could do that like currency method that I kind of flamed out on in the model. So I'm going to try that here. I'm going to say shirt.price. But pass that as the argument to number to currency. See what that looks like. Now that's pretty slick. That number to currency is working fine in the view. That's, by the way, because the view is in a scope called helpers. Or sorry, this number to currency is in a scope called view helpers, and that's only accessible to the view by default, not in models or controllers by default. But in any case, we've got info displaying about an individual shirt that links to the creator. We can see the price, the color, the message, creator. I'm going to like put image in another parentheses. I'm not worried about that as much just yet. As a user, I want to fill out a form to purchase a specific shirt. I mean, heck yeah, I kind of do. Like, we're presenting a shirt by Smitty. We could have a link back to the index here from a shirt show page. We could say here, link to, back to shirts. And then that could take us to the shirts path. Shirts plural being the one that is the prefix for the index action when we look at our Rails routes, right? Shirts plural corresponds to /shirts, and that's where I want to go if I want to go to my index. So therefore, if we go here, if we go here and refresh our page, back to shirts, we can click here. From our index, we should have a quick link that'll take us to a form to create a new shirt. I'm just going to bring it over from here real quick. Shirts index. All right, here we have a link to create new. Create a shirt, and then this will be new shirt path. Taking us right back in here. And then, oh yeah, we needed to have a link to purchase a specific shirt now that I'm linking everything up. So we have all shirts, create a shirt. Is that hooked up? Great. That's good. Here, yeah, let's have a purchase this shirt kind of situation, right? So if I'm going to purchase the shirt, let's talk about what needs to be transmitted, right? Like the shirt that I'm purchasing is part of my URL right now. We could nest the URL, y'all. Like, this is kind of a thing that we haven't really talked about too much yet. But if I wanted to, like, set up a resource for a sale, it could be within the scope of a shirt. So if I said resources shirts only new create index show, check this out. I can open a block with do. And within this, I can say resources sales only, and then I'm just going to worry about sales new for now because I don't think we're going to get much further than this given the clock. But if what I'm expecting to have happen now is to have one route for sales get added, and it should be nested inside of a particular shirt that's being sold. So check this out, new shirt sale. It's not just a sale, it's a sale for one particular shirt. And the way that this URL works is we start with like kind of the show format for a given shirt. Notice how this parameter is now shirt ID, because with nesting we get more specific because we have multiple objects nested. But we're saying in this path we have shirts slash shirt ID slash sales slash new. So we're going to make a new sale for this particular shirt. And that's key because it's going to help the user to just mostly select like what's the quantity that we're going to buy for this shirt, and who's the user that's actually purchasing the shirt right now. So this action should work if we go to shirts, shirt ID, sales new. I want to remember that. That's going to be my new shirt sale path. If I call new shirt sale path, I'll need to pass in a shirt to fill in which shirt is going to be sold. So let's try this. If we have new shirt sale path, then from the show page of a shirt, we should be able to make a link that says buy this shirt. This would be a new shirt sale path. And let's see what this looks like. Boop, 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 boop. Oh no, did I put this in the wrong place? I did. I put this in the users show and not the shirt show. Because this, see how it says show HTML ERB and then it says users there? That's my tell that I put it in the wrong show file. Let's find the right one. It's up here. That's our shirt show. That's the one I wanted. Invite the user to buy the shirt before they even know about it. Just gotta do the opposite of the online marketing strategy. Let's refresh and make sure that we can see the link. Boop, 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 boop. URL generation error, right? It doesn't know how to draw the error because it's missing the shirt ID. Because I just said new shirt sale path, but I didn't provide the shirt. I need to provide the shirt so that it knows how to fill in that value for shirt ID in the route. Now I have a buy this shirt link. When I click this, it goes to shirts 3 sales new, which of course I don't even have a sales controller for this, so that's not going to work. I don't really have anything for a sale, as a matter of fact. We hadn't created the model or the migration or anything for that. So I actually think this is a pretty good cliffhanger to stop us on, this exact error of uninitialized constant sales controller, before we can actually get to the place of creating a shirt purchase. But in the process, we did go through the flow of creating a new shirt and associating it with an existing user. We also made sure that we had some validation and some error handling pop in. I'm wondering if there's any questions that folks have after what we've done just now. Cool. Well, I guess thanks for joining me through this breakout. I'm going to record, or I have been recording, and I'm going to post what I've recorded up on Zoom. Thank you very much for sticking around and checking this out. I'm actually pretty excited to kind of pick up where we left off tomorrow on this and see about going through and creating a purchase, which would be like, I think the first time that we would have created something with a many-to-many join outside of the lab content. And I think that's an important thing to get through this week too. So I will turn my focus on this project once again tomorrow. So now we won't just have our students and cohorts and mentorships, but we'll also have this like shirts and sales and users playground to play in. Please do ask any questions via Slack or DM or any way that you can to myself or Derek if you find yourself struggling with anything. Yeah, cheers, y'all. I guess I'll wrap it up here, and I'll get this video up on YouTube as soon as I can. Bye-bye.